And welcome back to Reactioncast. It's your host Jesus, aka Tyrant Dominus, and today we're diving into a movie that doesn't just want you to watch it, it wants you to investigate, suspect, and second guess everyone you'll meet along the way. We're talking about Weapons.
This is a true story that happened in my town. So this one Wednesday is like a normal day for the whole school. But today was different. Every other class had all their kids. But Mrs. Gandy's room was totally empty. And you know why? Because the night before, at 2:17 in the morning, every kid woke up, got out of bed, walked downstairs, and into the dark. And they never came back.
So Weapons is Zack Kreger's, I think that's how you pronounce their names, latest entry into the genre-bending side of horror and thrillers, and it might be his most precise balance act yet. You might remember him from Barbarian, a little 2022 surprise that swung between terrifying and absurd in a way that shouldn't have worked, but somehow did. This time, he's using the same tonal magic to pull us into a small-town nightmare where 20 children vanish in the middle of the night and the people left behind start to unravel. And here's the thing. This isn't a straight shot from point A to point B. Weapon plays out like a puzzle that changes shape every time you think you're about to solve it. It's not about who jumps out from the shadows, but who's standing in the light and what they're hiding. If you came in expecting pure horror, you might be surprised. It's more of a layered thriller laced with unsettling moments, splashed with a dark humor and enough perspective shifts to keep you on your toes until the final frame. So here's the story. It begins in a small, seemingly quiet town of Maybrook. Quiet until one night when something impossible happens. At exactly 2:17 a.m., nearly 20 children from the same classroom get up, leave their home in an eerie unison, and vanish into the darkness. No running, no panic, well, some running. Just a strange, synchronized march into the unknown. So, kind of not Naruto running at this point, you know, it's a little bit ridiculous. But the town wakes to the chaos. Police are baffled. Parents are frantic, which is understandable. All the eyes turn to one person, Justine Gandy, played by Julia Garner, the teacher whose classroom those children shared. She's not just under suspicions, she's under siege. Accusations fly, tempers flare, and the atmosphere turns toxic fast. But here's where Weapons sets itself apart. Instead of following one lead character through the mystery, the film fractures into chapters, each told from different perspective. We start with Justine, then shifts to Archer Griff, played by Josh Brolin, a father whose desperation is matched only by his anger. Then to Paul Morgan, played by Eldon, oh my god, this last name, Etcherich, I think that's how you pronounce his name, I do apologize. He's the local cop walking the thin line between professional duty and personal history. From here, we drop into the chaos of James, played by Austin Abrams, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. A drifter who shouldn't be anywhere near this mess, but somehow stumbles into critical moments randomly. And then there's Alex Lilly, who is played by Carrie Christopher, the one student who didn't disappear, and a boy now carrying an unbearable weight of being the only one left. And well, there's one more. There's even Marcus Miller, played by Benedict Wong, the school principal who gets moments that deepen the intrigue. and each chapter just doesn't move the story forward. It changes how you see everything you thought you knew. So by the end of the movie, the puzzle looks nothing like what you did when you first started the film. Let's talk about what sells weapons. I would say it's the cast. This is one of those films where the performers don't just carry the story, they shape it. Julia Garner as Justine delivers a performance that is a steady in contrast. There's a fragility to her, shaky hands, darty eyes, but underneath you feel the stubborn resilience of someone determined not to be crushed, even when the whole town's anger is aimed right at her. Her scenes never play a simple victimhood. There's a complexity, and that's what makes her watchable from start to finish. Josh Brolin steps in as Archer, and the grieving father who seems to be swinging between combustible rage and quiet, broken moments. Brolin has his way of making Archer's worst impulses feel human, maybe even understandable, because that desperation is always there, simmering. Eldon as Paul Morgan brings a different kind of tension. He's the cop in the middle of the investigation with some past connection to Justine that complicates every decision. Though he plays him with a subtle pull between loyalty and obligation, you can feel the conflict in every glance and pause, and with certain scenes as well. While Austin Abrams as James is the film kind of chaotic wild card that they threw in. He's erratic, nervous, sometimes downright funny at times when it shouldn't feel, but it never feels safe. What's impressive is how the humor he portrays in this film doesn't derail the tension, some might say, but I didn't feel it. And still, it feels like an awkward, obscure laugh you sometimes get in the middle of a crisis. You're just like, oh god, you just gotta have to choke a little bit here. But Kerry Christopher as Alex might be the youngest player here, but he delivers some of the heaviest emotional beats. As the only child left behind, his quiet moments carry gravity that hits hard. He's the reminder of what actually is at stake. And let's not forget, like I mentioned, Benedict Wong as Marcus doesn't have the loudest role, but he makes every scene count. His presence is grounding, calm on the surface, but with an undercurrent of something unsaid that keeps you guessing. This ensemble works because no one feels out of place, even when the story shifts tones from tense to obscure to heartbreaking. Every performance fits perfectly into the film patchwork of perspective, in my opinion. So, the most striking thing about Weapons, like I mentioned, is the structure. It's not straight line from mystery to solution. Instead, it's a series of overlapping perspectives, each one shifting the timeline slightly and reframing the moments you've already seen. It's like being handed a puzzle piece one at a time, only to realize that the picture you were building is upside down. This chapter-based approach could have been a mess in less capable hands. Multi-timeline, multi-viewpoints, it's kind of structure that risks confusing the audience. But I believe that Zack Kreger keeps it clear without spoon-feeding you. Each chapter has its own emotional tone and its own rhythm, and its own small reveal that feeds into the larger mystery. The pacing is deliberate. Some will call it slow, but more like controlled breathing before a sprint. With the tension builds, Kreger knows when to cut it and when to let it simmer. So by the time you reach the final chapters, the accumulated unease pays off. You're just not learning what happened, you're feeling the weight of how it happened for everyone involved. Then visually, the film is just layered as its narrative. Larkin's, I'm gonna be screwing this one up a lot. Larkin Sable, I believe that's it. Their cinematography turns a small town street into a maze of shadows and light, where you even daylight feels uneasy. The gas station sequence is a standout, a chase that starts with almost obscure physical comedy that slides into seamless into genuine danger. The dream sequences, they're kind of surreal, illogical moments that feel uncomfortable, close to real nightmares, and complete with strange details that stick in your head long after. Yeah, I'm still thinking about them right now. Not every perceptive hits with equal force, but there's at least one chapter that feels less essential, and trimming it might have tightened the flow, but the benefit of the multi-view approach is more than even slower segments that add texture, making it the final picture richer. And I can understand if some people feel you just kind of have to constrain the film to kind of get it to its final part, So one of the interesting things that I found about Weapons is how it plays with the genre expectations. On paper, it's marketed as horror. That's what I thought going into it. But in practice, it's more of a thriller with horror DNA running through it. There are creepy moments, absolutely. But they come from the unknown, from the tension in a room or watching characters walk straight towards something isn't safe. The horror elements it does have are deliberate. There's no over resilience on gore. Instead, you get these sharp bursts of violence that hit harder than the surrounding by quieter dread. When Kreger chooses to show you something disturbing, it sticks. And just when you think you know where the scene is headed, he'll drop it a beat of dark humor, not to break the tension, but to make it stranger, some almost surreal. The gas station sequence I mentioned earlier is a perfect example of Kreger's tonal control. It's a balance of physical absurdity and something you might laugh at in the moment, with a very real threat that someone isn't walking away. But by the time the scene ends, you're not sure if you're relieved or rattled. The sound design plays a huge role in keeping the tension alive. Long stretches of quiet make you lean in, while sudden noises land like a gut punch. It's a film where the soundscape is as much a storyteller as the dialogue. And then there's the dream sequences, the two of them specifically, both unsettling in ways that feel personal. They don't look eerie, they sound wrong, with little distortion and rhythm that make you feel like you stepped into someone else's half-remembered nightmare. What impressive is that none of these elements, horror, dread, violence, feels stitched together from different movies. They're all part of one vision, shifting in and out of focus depending on whose perspective we're in. So, final thoughts here. Weapons is one of those rare films that is as much of how the story is told as is the story itself. The mystery of the missing children is the hook, but the shifting perspectives are what keep you invested. And by the end, you're not just chasing the answer, you're carrying the emotional baggage of every character you followed. That's where the film's real weight lies. Zack has taken the tonal balance act that he pulled off in Barbarian and refined it here. The mix of sequences, pitch black humor, and sudden danger feels deliberate, not chaotic. You can tell every scene has been thought through, what to show, what to hold back, and how to keep the audience leaning in instead of leaning back. Performances are uniformly strong, with each actor shaping their character in a way that adds something unique to the whole. Julia Garner's fragility, Josh Brolin's raw intensity, Alan's quiet conflict, and Austin's chaotic energy, Carrie's understanding gravity, and Benedict Wong's steady, enigmatic presence all contribute to the layer ensemble that holds up the weight of the film's structure. Is it flawless? No. The pacing will feel slow to some, and the ending is going to split the audience. It's satisfying to some, slightly underwhelming for others. But if you land in the latter camp, the journey there will will be worth it for the most part. I found it enjoyable. It was interesting. It was an interesting ending. The final act was interesting, but yeah, definitely some people are not gonna like it. So, Weapons isn't here to hand you an easy answer or a quick scare. It's here to pull you into the story where every viewpoint matters. Every silence is loaded, the truth feels just out of reach until the very last moment. Whether you walk out impressed, unsettled, or somewhere in between, you'll want to talk about it. Definitely, we were talking about it on the car ride. And that's exactly the kind of movie we're seeing. So, that's going to wrap it up on our deep dive into Weapons. This is one of those films that's going to live rent-free in my head for the next couple days. Not just because it scared you senseless, but because it makes you think. So rewind those scenes in your mind and maybe even argue about what worked and what didn't with whoever you saw it with, like I did. So let me know if you've seen it. I want to hear your take. Did the ending stick the landing for you, or did it leave you wanting more? If you haven't seen it, try to go in blind as possible. Trust me, the less you know, the better the ride. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, share it with a friend who loves good mystery, and drop your own theory or favorite moments in the comments. If you're new here, subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss out on our deep dives. We got more reviews, breakdowns, and reactions discussions coming up, so make sure you're subscribed and following so you don't miss the next one. So thanks again for listening or watching. Until next time, see ya. See ya. See ya. See ya.